All right, welcome. Today, we're going to try something a little different. We're going to cut through about 2,000 years of history, of doctrine, of all the arguments, and really try to get to the heart of a single question. We're going straight to the source texts to ask, what was the disruptive core message of Jesus of Nazareth? Let's get right into it. So this is the big question, right? If we peel back all the layers of theology and religion that were built up later, and we just look at the earliest records we have, the Gospels, what's the message we actually find? What was so radical, so groundbreaking, that it kicked off a movement that literally changed the course of history? So the first thing you run into, and it's probably the most central theme in all his teachings, is this idea of the kingdom of God. Now, this isn't what it sounds like. It's not about some future place up in the clouds with pearly gates. It's about something much more immediate and much more revolutionary. And here's the key thing you gotta get. The kingdom of God isn't a location, it's a new way of being. It's a whole new social and spiritual order that runs on a totally different operating system, one based on justice, mercy, and peace. Think of it like a new reality that's breaking into our world right now. And just listen to the urgency in that. This isn't some vague promise for the distant future. The message is basically an alarm clock for right now. He's saying this new reality isn't just coming someday, it's here. It's within arm's reach. It's available this very moment for anyone who's willing to kind of reorient their whole life to step into it. And this quote, which comes from the Gospel of Thomas, that's one of the books that didn't make it into the official Bible, it just blows the whole idea wide open. It makes the kingdom something that's both external, a change in society, and something that's internal, a spiritual shift inside you. The idea is that this new world has to first be realized in your own mind, in your own heart, before you can ever live it out. It's a revolution that happens both inside you and out in the world. Okay, so if this kingdom is a new reality, then the obvious next question is, how are you supposed to live in it? What are the rules? And this brings us to the second huge theme. A radical kind of ethics. It's not just about following rules. No, it's about a complete transformation of the heart. Now, this right here is absolutely crucial. Jesus wasn't saying, hey, forget all the old moral rules. He said he came to fulfill them. And what that means is he wasn't trying to get rid of the rules. He was trying to deepen them, to drill down to the very root, the real intention behind every law, to show what they were really all about. So he takes hundreds of complex religious laws and basically boils them all down to just two core commands: love God and love your neighbor. Everything else he basically says is just commentary on these two things. But then he does something really radical. He uses this principle of love to turn all the old laws inside out. Just look at this first one. The old law said, do not murder. Simple enough, right? It's an external act. But Jesus pushes inward. He traces the act of murder all the way back to its seed, its source, anger festering in the heart. He's teaching that morality doesn't just start with what you do, it starts with what you think. And here we go, it's the exact same move. The law forbids the external act of adultery. But again, Jesus traces it back to its origin, the lustful thought, the intention. The focus shifts completely from trying to control what people do to purifying the inner world of our thoughts and desires. And this is where his teaching just explodes into the real world. You know, the law of an eye for an eye sounds pretty harsh to us now, but back then, it was actually a principle to limit revenge, to keep it from spiraling out of control. But Jesus flips the whole script. He advocates for a totally nonviolent response to aggression. He's not just trying to manage the cycle of revenge, he's trying to break it entirely. And this is the final boss of his ethics. You have to put this in context. He's saying this in a world dominated by the Roman Empire, when the motto was basically crush your enemies. And at the same time, you had local rebels who believed in violent revolution. And into that world, he drops this bombshell. It takes the whole idea of neighbor and stretches it until it breaks, demanding a kind of love that just ignores all our normal boundaries of tribe, politics, or personal feelings. So this intense focus on what's going on inside, on the heart, it leads directly to what might be his most explosive teaching of all, a complete redefinition of what it means to be spiritually pure. Now remember, in that culture, purity was a huge deal, and it was almost all about external stuff. What food you ate, who you touched, what rituals you performed. Boom! With that one sentence, Jesus basically sets off a bomb under centuries of religious tradition. I mean, think about it. He's saying that what you eat doesn't make you unclean. He shifts the entire focus of purity from the outside in to the inside out. He argues that true defilement, real spiritual dirtiness, doesn't come from something external. It comes from what's already festering inside a person's heart. So what's the stuff that he says comes from within? Well, he lists it out pretty clearly. Fornication, theft, murder, adultery, greed, malice, deceit, envy, slander, arrogance, and folly. That, he says, is the stuff that truly makes a person impure. The source of corruption isn't out there in the world, it's in the unexamined human heart. Now, this intense focus on inner transformation, this wasn't just some nice philosophy to think about over dinner. It was a direct and incredibly demanding call to a whole new way of life. It wasn't enough to just agree with it. You had to act. It required a commitment to actively follow this path. And man, we have to understand the context of this. Today, a cross is a piece of jewelry. Back then, it was a horrifying instrument of brutal Roman execution, reserved for rebels and slaves. So when he told his audience to take up their cross, they heard something shocking. They heard, be willing to go all the way, be willing to give up your self-interest, your reputation, even your own life for this new reality. And following this path meant turning the world's idea of power completely upside down. In the Roman Empire, and let's be honest, in our world too, greatness means being in charge, having power over others. Jesus taught that in the kingdom of God, it's the exact opposite. Greatness means service. If you want to be first, you have to be willing to be the servant of all. And that famous challenge to the rich young man, it's not necessarily a command for every single person to sell everything they own. It's really highlighting a core principle. You have to be willing to renounce anything that's standing between you and this new way of living. For that guy, it was his money. For someone else, it might be their pride, their power, or their ambition. And that brings us right back to our world today. And it leaves us with one final big question. These teachings clearly challenged the powerful and comforted the marginalized in his day. So 2,000 years later, in a world still driven by power and wealth and division, who do they challenge now? Who do they make uncomfortable today? Is it the systems out there, or is it us?